Expose Evil here. Like, share, subscribe. Today I'm doing a video on Nimrod, the king of Babylon. And I want to say that this is my most important video I have ever made. This is the most incredible information that I have ever came across. And I learned the common law. I studied a lot of Supreme Court cases. Spent hours in the law library learning and waking up to the system that we're in. Now, in this video, I'm going to give you a lot of sources. I'm not just going to say things and not tell you where I found it at. I'm going to give you down to the page number. And I want you need to study this. This is very important. If you are a Christian and you believe in Jesus, this man is known as the Antichrist. He's the one who started the New World Order after the flood. So Nimrod was the first person to violate God's law after the flood by building the Tower of Babel. And I believe it was for the purpose to reach the heavens and attack him and his angels. Now, this is known as the New World Order. This was the form of Satanism that he established. This is the form of Satanism used today, that he established and that he learned and that he pushed upon the earth. Now it says, Nimrod, a biblical figure described as a king in the land of Shinar, known as Mesopotamia, was, according to the book of Genesis and the books of Chronicles, the son of Cush and the son of Ham, son of Noah. The Bible states that he was a mighty hunter before the Lord and began to be mighty in the earth. Extra biblical traditions associating him with the Tower of Babel led to his reputation as a king who was rebellious against God. Now, I'm going to start off with showing you some Freemason literature. I know everyone says Freemasons worship Satan, but I'm going to show you that they literally do worship Satan or Lucifer. But they do it through Nimrod, mostly. Nimrod is known as the Antichrist, okay? So, this is really their god, and I'm going to prove it to you right now. Okay, before I start this video, there's two things I need to say. First, I need to tell you guys that there's a big difference between Catholics and Christians. Okay? Catholics basically came in and perverted Christianity and mixed in Babylon. Okay? So, this is why you see online people making videos saying that Christianity stole from paganism. But the truth is, Catholics came and perverted Christianity, and they originally worshipped Babylon. So this is why you're seeing these pagan symbols. For example, Revelation 12:1 describes the whore of Babylon. And if you go look at the depiction of Mary, the Catholic depiction of Mary, she looks exactly like Revelation 12:1 depiction. And another example is the cross. The cross was used by the Romans, and they sacrificed other people on it before Jesus. They sacrificed Jesus on the cross because the cross was their symbol or altar to their God. Is that common sense? Think about it. Okay? The reason Catholics use the cross is because the cross comes from Babylon. Alright? And the second thing is, I need to teach you about Hiram Abiff real quick. Hiram Abiff is part of Freemasonry. He's supposed to be they tell you, if you look him up right now, they tell you he's a fictional character. But really, Hiram Abiff is their secret name for Nimrod. Okay? And I'm going to show you this right now.
The Master Mason, authorized by the Grand Lodge of Free and Accepted Masons of Indiana, compiled by Committee on Masonic Education. Page 9 and 10. The idea that lies behind the Homeric legend is as old as religious thinking among men. The same elements existed in the story of Osiris, which was celebrated by the Egyptians in their ancient temples. The old Persians told it concerning Mithras, their hero god. In Syria, the Dionysian mysteries had the very same elements in the story of Dionysus. For the Romans, Bacchus was the god who died and lived again. There is also the story of Tammuz, older than any of these. These are collectively referred to as the ancient mysteries. They were celebrated by secret societies, much like ours, with allegorical ceremonies during which the initiates were advanced from one degree to another in these old societies. Read these old stories for yourself and marvel how men in all ages have taught the same great truths in the same effective way. Now you see, they're saying all of these gods are the same as Tammuz. Tammuz's story is older than any of these. Now Tammuz is just the son of Nimrod. They believe Nimrod was reincarnated in Tammuz. So Nimrod is Tammuz to these freaks. Okay? So you see, everything goes back to Nimrod. And it's more than just these few gods that they're naming. I'm telling you, every pagan god and goddess match up to Nimrod, his wife, and his son. And I'm going to try to help you understand this in this video. Please pay attention and take notes of the page numbers. And if you find the PDF files of any of these books that I am, using in this video, take note that you might not find it on the same exact page. Like right now, I found this on page 9 and 10, but if you get the PDF file, it might be on page 30 and 31. You get what I'm saying? So take that note, please, when you're looking for these. The history of Freemasonry. Its legends and traditions is chronological history by Albert Gallatin Mackey, medical doctor, 33rd degree Mason.
We see, therefore, that the Masons of the present day are wrong when they make Babel or Babylon the symbol of intellectual darkness and suppose that the light of Masonry was for a time extinguished, to be re-illumined only at the Temple of Solomon. Now, they're talking about what the book The Master Mason said, that these people are all copies of Tammuz, Bacchus, Dionysus, Osiris, Mithras, and many, many more, Zeus, Saturn, whatever you want to call these people, even Saturn. They're just retelling of the same story over and 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 over. Literally every god or goddess that you hear of, besides Jesus, is Nimrod. And I'm going to explain the Jesus mix up with Osiris and Mithras when they try to say that Jesus is just a copy of them. I'm going to explain that later in this video. Well, let me continue. And again, the legend of the craft indicates its character, incorrectly clothed in historical fact and symbolic language when it portrays Babylonia, which was undoubtedly the fountain of all Semitic science and architecture, as also the birthplace of operative masonry. The universal sentiment of the Masons of the present day is to confer upon Solomon, king of Israel, the honor of being the first Grand Master. But the legend of the craft had long before Though there was a tradition of the temple extant, bestowed at least by implication that title upon Nimrod, the king of Babylonia and Assyria. Page 63. The craft have in both forms of the legend recognized Nimrod as a great mason, nor have the vituperations of Josephus and the scandalous legends of the Orientalists had the slightest effect on their apparent estimation of this mighty monarch, the founder of nations and the builder of cities. Now, if you're a free man and you live at the common law, you might have always heard that they're trying to run the Babylonian code on us versus common law. Now, this is where it started with Nimrod. He's the one who built this system in this social society. He's the first one to create this, okay? He's the first one to create basically corporations, okay? This is the guy right here. He's the one who created the system that we're enslaved under. Okay, this is The History of Freemasonry, Volume 6, by Albert Mackey, medical doctor, 33rd degree Mason, page 1719. Before I start this, I gotta say that there's a difference between esoteric knowledge and exoteric knowledge. Now, what they're revealing to us and what I'm going to show you is exoteric knowledge, okay? They cannot reveal their esoteric knowledge because they take death oaths to keep it secret. You know, like the raping of kids and the sacrificing of kids. That's the esoteric knowledge that they're not going to speak about. So, here we go. This is on the page. These are different pagan gods. Right? And who do we see here? We got Vishnu. This is Vishnu right here in the middle. Sitting on, I don't know what is it. It's the turtle on the bottom with the snake wrapped around some type of pillar. She has the 4 arms. Okay, this god I believe is in the Hindu Trinity. Brahma would be the man who is Nimrod. Vishnu, the woman, who is Semiramis, and Shiva, which a lot of people don't know, is a man and corresponds with Tumas, the son of Nimrod. There's others that I'm not so sure of, but they're all pagan. And then we have page 1720. Some more familiar faces of other pagan gods. We see Astaroth. And you see she has the moon on her head. Another thing, most of these pagan goddesses are moon goddesses, and most of these pagan gods are moon or sun gods. And let me tell you a little bit about Astaroth real fast. Astaroth is the one that Solomon fell to, and 1 Kings 11:5 says, "For when Solomon grew old, his wives turned his heart after other gods, and he was not wholeheartedly devoted to the Lord his God, as his father David had been. Solomon followed Astaroth." Okay. Says the goddess of the Scythians, and Moloch, the abomination of the Ammonites. So Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and unlike his father David, he did not follow the Lord completely. Then we have down here, that's Baal. I don't know if you can see, he has the ears and the horns, like the Baphomet, right? They all correspond the same. They're all the same as Nimrod. It's another depiction of him. No, Baal. You look in the Bible dictionary. Baal also means Lord. We got Dagon right here. The god of Nineveh, I believe, or the king of Nineveh. Nunas, same thing. Nimrod. how he looks. Look these guys up. Learn about them so you can understand and battle these Satanists when they try to pervert the word. They got the, right here, Goat of Mendes. Corresponds with Baphomet. If you don't know, Baphomet was drawn by Eliphas Levi sometime in 1900. And Abraxas, the god of Gnosticism. That's him right there, look. So now let's get to what they're saying about these guys, or what they said. Alright, this is page 1721. And it says, I can't see that too good. I think I got another picture somewhere. It says right here, they were all characters of human origin in the mythologic ages, designed as the saviors of men, each one emphatically the representative Christos or Christ of his particular nation and religious system, designed to restore the lost and fallen race of man. Now, as Masons, we decide not between these, but take all in as our brethren, and the one God as our Heavenly Father revealed to us, such in the great light of Masonry, which is Lucifer, Satan. Okay? Now, you see here, they said we take him all in as brethren. Like I already said to you a few times in this video, all pagan gods and goddesses are just copies of Babylon. The original in Babylon is Nimrod, his mother and wife. That's where the incest started with the royal family. Okay? And whenever they have the sun is Tammuz. You can see the statues everywhere from Egypt, Asia. You know, Vishnu was even depicted with the baby at her breast. And now, the way the mystery religions, as they call it, you know, of Revelation, was spread throughout the world in this way right here, from the Tower of Babel. And the Lord said, if they have begun to do this as one people, speaking the same language, then nothing they devise will be beyond them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so that they will not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them from there over the face of all the earth, and they stopped building the city. Now, after this is how this mystery religion got spread from Babylon throughout the world. And this is why Nimrod has so many names, because he confused their language. So when they say Nimrod in another country, it sounds like Baal. You know, it might sound like Dionysus. It's called Babel. His name in Babel. I don't know if you heard of that new language program called Babel. I get commercials. I hear commercials for it every once in a while. I find it interesting that they named their company Babel, and it's a language learning app or program. So there you have it, you know. His name is just in Babel, wherever you go. Egypt, Nimrod in Babel is Osiris. Tammuz in Babel is Horus. You know, Semiramis in Babel, Isis. You see how simple it is? Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva would be the Hindu trinity. It goes on and on. I recommend reading The Two Babylons by Alexander Hislop, which was originally a pamphlet in 1858, I believe, if not before, and then turned into a book later on and was added to over the years. And looks like people sourced other information and showed it, like sourced other historians to match up to what Hislop actually said in his book. And Hislop actually left a lot of sources also. Never recommend reading the book by David Carrico, the Masonic Egyptian Satanic Connection, I believe it's called.
The Arcana of Freemasonry by Albert Churchward. No, page 9 and 10 in the Arcana of Freemasonry, they have the Oath of Nimrod. Apprentice degree for the first, apprentice degree first, okay? It says, I, so-and-so, do in the presence of El Shaddai and of this worshipful assembly of Freemasons, rough masons, wallers, slaters, pavers, plasterers, and bricklayers, promise and declare that I will not at any time hereafter, by any act or circumstance whatsoever, directly or indirectly, write, print, cut, mark, or publish, discover, reveal, or make known any part or parts of the trade, secrets, privileges, or counsels of the worshipful fraternity or fellowship of Freemasonry, which I may have known at any time, or at any time hereafter shall be known unto me. The penalty for breaking this great oath shall be the loss of my life, that I shall be branded with the mark of a traitor and slain according to the ancient customs by being throttled, that my body shall be buried in the rough sands of the sea, a cable's length from the shore, where the tide regularly ebbs and flows twice in the 24 hours, so that my soul shall have no rest by night or by day. It says, candidate signs the be given under my hand and sealed with my lips this day of 1913. So help me El Shaddai, the holy concept of this book. How satanic. We all know Nimrod was the first to disrespect God and start this Antichrist religion, or the New World Order, as we call it today. The Porch and the Middle Chamber, The Book of the Lodge, by Albert Pike. Page 333. Like they did in the book The Master Mason, they're going to link Harem Abiff to Osiris. And we already know that Harem and Osiris are Nimrod, or Tammuz. Now it says here, the all-seeing eye is a symbol of the deity, as it anciently was in Egypt, a hieroglyphic of Osiris and the sun, connecting the legend of Harem with that of Osiris. Okay, and then it says the sun, moon, comet, and 7 stars indicate the astronomical symbolism of the legend, and again connecting it with that of Osiris. The sun is Osiris, aka Nimrod. The moon is Isis, aka Semiramis. Okay? Astrology comes from Nimrod. Now pay attention to that fact. A History of Phallic Worship by Richard Payne Knight, published by Dorset Press, 1992. Among the Egyptians, as before observed, the cow was a symbol of Venus, the goddess of love and passive generative power of nature. On the capitals of one of the temples of Feli, Egypt, we still find the heads of this goddess represented of a mixed form, the horns and ears of the cow being joined to the beautiful features of a woman in the prime of life, such as the Greeks attributed to that Venus whom they worshipped as the mother of the prolific god of love, Cupid, who was the personification of animal desire or concupiscence, as Orphic love, the father of gods and men, was of universal attraction. The Greeks, who represented the mother under the form of a beautiful woman, naturally represented the son under the form of a beautiful boy. But a people who represented the mother under the form of a cow would as naturally represent the son under the form of a calf. Now, seeing what we just read, we see here in Acts 7:40. And Acts 7 is about when Moses saved his people from Egypt, and then they were in the desert while he went to Mount Sinai. So this is where I'm going to pick up off in Acts 7:40. They said to Aaron, "Make us gods who will go before us. As for this Moses, who led us out of Egypt? We do not know him. What has happened to him? And then Acts 7:41. That was the time they made an idol in the form of a calf. They brought the sacrifices to it and revealed in what their own hands had made. Now we know Isis is the cow and Horus is the calf. And we know Horus is nothing more than Osiris reincarnated, as they believe. So we see they went to Horus worship out in the desert. Now Acts 7:42, but God turned away from them and gave them over to the worship of the sun, moon, and stars. This agrees with what is written in the book of prophets. Did you bring me sacrifices and offerings for 40 years in the wilderness, people of Israel? Now we see here, we know, sun god's Osiris or Horus. You know, the moon is Isis, as they believe. We know the stars correspond with this astrology also. This one translates different. Stars of heaven. Again, astrology, right? And then we have a host of heaven. Host of heaven, right? Same thing, it's all about astrology. They're looking up into the sky. Stars of heaven. Now this one's going to make even more sense. You have taken up the tabernacle of Moloch, and the star of your god Rephan, the idols you made to worship. Therefore I will send you into exile beyond Babylon. Rephan, sometimes they translate it to Remphan, and Moloch as Malak, which means nothing more than king. Alexander Hislop, the two Babylons, or the papal worship, proved to be the worship of Nimrod and his wife. 1916. This was originally, I believe, a pamphlet in the 1850s, and then turned into much more over the years. I want you to note the 6-point star. I can show you, like I showed in other videos, where we see Thoth depicted with the 6-point star and the all-seeing eye. He proves where it comes from in this book. But chapter 4, section 2, justifications by works. You scroll down, start reading it there, and you eventually end up to this part. And in the red part, it says the real character of the God whom the papacy has set up for the worship of his deluded devotees. Sorry, Catholic Church. There is nothing in the least strange about it. That God is Moloch, the god of barbarity and blood. Moloch signifies king, and Nimrod was the first after the flood that violated the patriarchal system and set up as king over his fellows. At first he was worshipped as the revealer of goodness and truth, but by his worship was made to correspond with his dark and forbidding countenance and complexion. Now, if you look in a Bible dictionary, Remphan or Rephan from Acts 7:43 and Amos 5:26, you get chewin is rendered by the LXX, Rephan, and this name is adopted by Luke in his narrative of the Acts. These names represent the star god Saturn or Moloch, and that can be found in Hitchcock's Bible Names and Smith's Bible Dictionary. And then we also have
Easton and Smiths. Easton and Hitchcock right here. And says Remphan, Acts 7:43, and Chewin, Amos 5:26, have been supposed to be the names of an idol worshipped secretly by the Israelites in the wilderness. Difficulty has been occasioned by this corresponding occurrence of two names so wholly different in sound. The most reasonable opinion seems to be that Chewin was a Hebrew or Semitic name and Remphan an Egyptian equivalent, substituted by the LXX. This idol corresponded probably to Saturn or Moloch. The mention of Chewin or Remphan as worshipped in the desert shows that this idolatry was in part at least that of foreigners, and no doubt those settled in Lower Egypt. So we see Saturn. This is what, if you read Alexander Hislop's Two Babylons, called the hidden god. In Egypt, he was the hidden god. So you see the astrology again exposed right here in the Bible. And then we further see Hislop say, we have seen already that the Egyptian Horus was just a new incarnation of Osiris, or Nimrod. Now you see? Over and above the scourgings, and there were also slashings and cuttings of the flesh required as propitiatory rites on the part of his worshippers, and the solemn celebration of the mystery, says Julius Firmicus. All things in order had to be done, which the youth either did or suffered at his death. Osiris was cut into pieces, therefore, to imitate his fate, so far as living men might do so, they were required to cut and wound their own bodies. Then he links Saturn to Osiris and Nimrod. Butchered to make a Roman holiday. When it is remembered that Saturn himself was cut in pieces, it is easy to see how the idea would arise of offering a welcome sacrifice to him by setting men to cut one another into pieces on his birthday, by way of perpetrating his favor.
Now let's take a look at those false gods that the Master Mason mentioned from my Webster's Deluxe Unabridged Dictionary, 2nd edition. And there's a part in the back that says a dictionary of noted names in fiction, mythology, and legend. So we're going to be getting two definitions for each false god. We got here Osiris. Osiris, the ancient Egyptian god of the lower world and judge of the dead, husband and brother of Isis. Osiris, in Egyptian mythology, one of the chief gods, the source of life and fruitfulness, the sum of all beneficent agencies, the creator and the god of the Nile. He was the father of Horus and the husband of Isis, and sister of Isis. After he had been slain by his brother Set, the personification of all evil, aka Satan, Osiris became the judge of the dead, and his soul animated the sacred bull Apis. Thus, under this form, Osiris continued to be present among men. Mithras. Mithras, the ancient Persian god of light and truth, opponent of darkness and evil. Mithras, a deity of the ancient Persians, the benefactor of mankind and supporter of Ormuzd, generally regarded as a personification of the sun. Dionysus. Dionysus, in Greek mythology, the god of vegetation and wine, identified with the Roman god Bacchus. Dionysus, a Greek name for the god Bacchus. Bacchus. Bacchus, in Greek and Roman mythology, the god of wine and revelry, son of Zeus and Semele, earlier called Dionysus by the Greeks. He is said first to have taught the cultivation of the grape and the preparation of wine and other intoxicating liquors. Bacchus, the Greek and Roman god of wine, son of Zeus and Semele, in Greek commonly called Dionysus.
And Tammuz, Nimrod's son, aka the sun god, because Nimrod was a sun god, or known as the sun god. And notice the stance with the two staffs in his hand, just like Horus or Osiris, because you're copying him. This is where the Ankh comes from. It's nothing more than the T for his name and the sun at the top representing him or his father. Or as they believe, he is his father. Tammuz, son of life, sun who rises. Now, keep that in mind for later. I'm going to touch up on that later. A Babylonian and Assyrian god whose supposed annual death and resurrection symbolize the winter and spring cycle. Or the second definition, the 10th month of the Jewish year, also spelled Tammuz. Tammuz, or Thamaz, a Babylonian god of agriculture and Syrian counterpart of Adonis. Adonis. In Greek mythology, a young man, loved by Aphrodite because he was so handsome, he was killed by a wild boar. Don't look at any very handsome young man. In Greek mythology, a beautiful youth, beloved by Venus and killed by a wild boar. The myths connected with Adonis are of Eastern origin, and he himself appears to be a personification of the sun.